flooding streets and leading to stranded commuters who needed to be rescued from their vehicles. More storms are on their way through Monday night. The National Weather Service forecast shows more than 64 million people in the Midwest are at risk of severe storms. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 82 points. More at townhall.com.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. But what's more, MediShare members like it. We know this from member surveys. They like it a lot. It's a proven thing now. MediShare has been around for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing, too. If you join before November 30th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they will waive your application fee. So you save $100 right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. Again, the deadline is November 30th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. Call 855-90-BIBLE. That's 855-90-BIBLE. 855-90-BIBLE.
Camp Mystic counselors were not trained to handle flood and other emergency situations.
The counselors were young and inexperienced and afraid to make decisions on their own. That's according to an investigator who testified to Texas lawmakers about the 2025 flood that killed 27 counselors and campers. It was the first special legislative committee hearing on the July 4th flood that swept through the all-girls Christian camp on the banks of the Guadalupe River. Camp owner Richard Eastland was also killed in a desperate attempt to evacuate girls to higher ground. John Scott reporting.
Virginia Supreme Court justices on Monday questioned whether the state's Democratic-led legislature complied with constitutional requirements when it sent a congressional redistricting plan to voters in a case that carries high stakes for the balance of power in the U.S. House. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
Does your company need to be compliant with U.S. Coast Guard 2022-0802? Do you require an independent third-party vendor for penetration testing? If you do, call Tactical Cyber Services at 713-229-0030 or go online to tacticalcyberservices.com. We can work with your internal IT group or your security vendor like Whit O'Brien to make sure your documentation is compliant. Call 713-229-0030 today.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts.
Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory, my friend for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees, and pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs, so don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Hi, this is Paul Betancourt. Property values may have peaked, making 2026 a must-year to protest your property taxes. Sign up with my excellent Betancourt tax advisor team at btanow.com, as our experienced senior property tax agents and customer service matter. The Taxman says do it now.
Sign up with Betancourt Tax Advisors by going online to btanow.com or by calling Paul's professional property team at 713-263-6100.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on.
Over there. No.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself. For Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate. Stimulating. Hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus, oh Lord, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show. KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. So much stuff out there to talk about, and yet you probably know what the main focus of today's show will be. The horrific attempted murder of the President of the United States, the third one that we've seen now in our society over the last 3 years. Some are calling it unprecedented, which is sort of insane to also be saying out loud and thinking that that is in fact true. We have not seen a leader of our country attempted to be killed this many times, which is not a badge of honor I would want, and one that Trump actually talked about in sort of an interesting way. I thought it was sort of an admirable way, if I'm being honest, because President Trump said it means he must be doing a lot of great stuff. And I want to start in a very Texas place with this conversation. So James Talarico, the insane person who's running for the Senate seat here in Texas on the Democratic side of the aisle, goes to the strangest church you've probably never heard of in this state. The individual who's a pastor at this church often talks about political things. Not only that, but the more relevant stuff about this church is that they hold like a lot of political rallies. They showed up at No Kings rallies. They sent out, messages to their congregation saying that they would like people to be there and people to be at a meeting before a No Kings rally to talk about some of the ridiculous political things that have no place in a church at all. This is absolutely inappropriate. And so why don't we start with a clip? This is this pastor of the church that James Talarico is a part of, talking about the attempted assassination of President Trump, and also talking about the likelihood that there's people that have mixed feelings, which is disgusting and gross. And you actually hear a congregation of people at a church laugh at the idea that there are people who would essentially want Trump dead. That's basically what Talarico is saying. But let's go ahead and play on this audio because it's insane, and this matters. Dealing with the people who want to be in charge in this state, in this country, in this society, it matters. And these are people who couldn't be further from America first. And not only are they America last, they're essentially murderer first or socialist first individuals. But here we go. This is a pastor at a church that James Talarico is a part of, talking about the attempted assassination of our president during his Sunday Mass, during his homily.
You may know if you check the news at all, there was an assassination attempt. And I know a lot of people have mixed feelings.
I do not.
But it's really, really important, if we are going to be the healing agents of the world, to realize that violence is not going to get rid of the problem that we have. I said last week, if violence could have gotten rid of racism, the Civil War would have worked. But if you look at the Bible Belt and the heart of the MAGA movement, it is the Confederacy. The America they want to get back to is the Confederate States of America, not the United States of America.
Yeah, I'm good. I actually can stop it right there. This is insane. He goes on to talk about how they have a very important fight. They have to fight against the injustices in our society. This is a pastor at a church talking to a congregation who, again, is laughing when he says that people have mixed feelings about the attempted assassination of the President of the United States. I have no mixed feelings. Most people have no mixed feelings, or at least shouldn't have mixed feelings. The left seems more and more okay with this. There's a bunch of data that's gone viral. You probably have seen some of it, talking about the amount of young people or the amount of people who just identify as liberal across all demographics, all ages, that say they're totally fine with political violence. Just for comparison, 1 in 3 liberals, or people who believe themselves to be very liberal, says that they think that political violence is okay, that it's justified. And of course they do, by the way, when their side of the aisle is calling us Nazis, saying that Trump is a dictator, saying certain things that convince them that political violence would be appropriate, that the horrible things happening in our society have risen to the level where you need to murder and kill people in order to take the country back. That is what Democrats constantly tell their constituents, and the constituents don't seem to check at all with what Republicans are actually saying, because no Republican has called for any of the things that the left claims that they're calling for. No need to say, protect LGBTQ people because they're going to get rounded up and thrown in concentration camps. That's a narrative of the left. It does not exist on the right. It's disgusting that we talk about this. But the bigger win, the more valuable question to ask to demonstrate to someone how insanely broken their side is in the things they claim versus the reality of the world we live in, would be simply to tell them what in your life has changed. Like, what has been impacted now that Trump is in office? What can't you do that you could do before? And by and large, probably the first thing you'll hear them say is that, well, people who are here illegally are being removed from this country. So we're following the law. So the biggest thing that's changed in our society from before Trump was in office to Trump being in office is that people who aren't allowed to be here are actually being forced to leave. That's the biggest change. But your life hasn't changed at all. The White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, I almost said Corinne Jean-Pierre. I had a horrible flashback to that being true. Caroline Leavitt, much better human than Corinne Jean-Pierre. That would be Obama's White House press secretary. Terrible at that job. But Caroline Leavitt went through a bunch of the data points of the horrible things that the left says. The entire Democratic Party pitches its voters on the idea that the right is, the anti-Christ or something like it. But here, I want to play some of this audio because it's interesting to hear from the, quote, bully pulpit of the White House press secretary's microphone, simply factual things, things that will go in one ear and out the other of mainstream media, of the left, who will claim that we're not doing anything terrible, we're not doing anything wrong. How dare you accuse us of anything when these are the things that they're saying?
You mentioned the First Lady and Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's comments were, Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow. And he said this days before the shooting, but there does seem to be a normalization of rhetoric about assassinating this particular president. How can this administration try to put an end to this?
Well, I think
No, it just crashed on me. That's correct. Oh, here we
in
go.
his words, we need to recommit ourselves as a country to toning down the rhetoric and to unifying around what makes our country great.
Yes.
That's true of everyone who works in this White House, but as I said, it's also true of everyone who has a voice and a platform across this country, whether you're on television, a podcast host, people listen. And when you have mentally disturbed individuals across the country who are listening to this crazed rhetoric about the president day after day after day, it inspires them to do crazy things. And unfortunately, it's not just the media, it is the entire Democrat Party has made their pitch to voters across the country that Donald Trump poses an existential threat to democracy, that he is a fascist, and that they compare him to Hitler. I mean, these are despicable statements that the American people have been consuming for years. And so many mentally perturbed individuals are led to believe these words are truth and then are inspired to act on it. I have a whole host of examples that we can share with you after. It is pages and pages of major Democrat Party elected officials saying, such as Rep. Hakeem Jeffries just this month said, "We are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere all the time." Governor Josh Shapiro said heads need to roll within the administration. Senator Alex Padilla said people are, quote, dying because of fear and terror caused by the Trump administration. Senator Elizabeth Warren, President Trump is making the country look like a, quote, fascist state. Senator Adam Schiff saying President Trump using a dictator playbook. Senator Ed Markey.
Yeah, I'll stop it there. You get the idea. And she goes on and on about this for about another minute. This is the consistent rhetoric of the left, and this is why they think it's okay to kill people on the right, and they've attempted 3 times to kill the current president of the United States. We have gotten some calls. You'll go right on hold. So if the caller called in twice, we'll try to get to the first one. If we don't hear anybody, we'll switch over to the second one. But if you go immediately on hold, you've made it through to the show. That's how this works. Caller, what's your name?
It's Bart.
Bart, and you're calling from Spring. What do you want to say, bud?
Correct. I wanted to know if that was intentional that you called Karine Jean-Pierre Obama's press secretary. Was that intentional?
It was in my mind, and I didn't realize it came out of my mouth. She absolutely was. She was not Biden's because he didn't serve any time in office. But I love what you just did there, and you noticed I didn't do it totally on purpose. But anyway, what else do you want to say?
I think Carolyn Levin is such a great press secretary.
Incredible.
The one thing I liked about Kamala Harris is saying how we need to turn the page and move forward.
Yeah.
I really hate anything talking about the previous administration anymore.
Yes. No, me too. I hate it too. So much. It is ridiculous. Is there anything else you wanted to say, buddy?
No, that was it. I just wanted to ask if that was intentional.
Thank you very much for the call. It wasn't, but I guess it was. I guess my brain sort of forced it. We got one more call, I think. Caller, what's your name?
Hello?
Hello.
It me?
Yep, it's you. You're on. What's your name?
Hey, Carlos. How you doing?
Good, Carlos. How you doing?
Hey, as an independent voter that mostly in the past voted Democrat.
Yes.
I don't know what happened to that party. I'm in shock. I'm not lying to you. I even donated money at some point to them because back then, 15, 20 years ago, it was a party that makes sense.
Sure.
But I don't know how they lost their mind. I'm not lying to you. I'm in shock how these people lost it in a few years.
You're talking
Literally
mostly about the being okay with political violence thing, right?
With political violence, with transgender stuff that, men should be able to beat women in sports.
Right.
The whole package.
Yeah. No,
I'm in shock how everything they just lost it.
I get it, Carlos.
It's unbelievable.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate the call. I do wonder when you say that means that you now vote on the other side of the aisle, right? Even though you described yourself. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I figured. What do you think of Talarico's priest having a political statement from a position of power within the world of religion? Go ahead.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a religious person at all.
Yeah.
At all, right? But it's funny and ridiculous how this guy and his priest.
Yeah.
What's up with that? I mean, like,
yeah. No,
I don't get it. Like, I'm saying the whole package, the whole Democratic Party lost their mind.
Yeah.
Completely lost it. There's nothing left from the party that I used to support 10, 15 years ago. There's nothing left. It's gone. They're just nuts.
Fair enough. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that's true, but I agree with you very much. Thank you for the call, Carlos, for calling into the show. I've never voted Democratic. I was a registered Republican at 18. It's part of a lot of people in my family wind up voting on a certain side of the aisle. My grandmother used to say that you got to vote for the side that wants to keep babies alive. It seemed like an easy thing to say. Which side is pro-baby? All right, let's go with that side. But nonetheless, I understand where Carlos is coming from. You can play audio of JFK to someone and say, who does this sound like? And they'll go, oh, that's obviously a Republican. In today's society, it's a far Republican in some ways, they'll say. And these are people that at one point were at the forefront of the Democratic Party. And you'll just hear them speak, and you'll think to yourself, how could things have changed so much? I want to play one last piece of audio. This is a Jimmy Kimmel thing who was referenced in Caroline Levitt's answer to that question, but it's much more about Melania Trump's reaction to the disgustingness of a Jimmy Kimmel. And the First Lady, I think, crushed her response because he was very pointed in the things she said. I could read it. I'll let Fox News do it. When the story broke earlier today, Fox covered it, talking about how Jimmy Kimmel made a joke a couple days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner, a dinner that someone showed up to, intent to murder Trump and anyone within his administration. And actually, in the manifesto we found from this deranged lunatic from the left, a teacher out of California, a well-educated, by the way, like Ivy League types of schools kind of thing, educated person, said that he would mow down anyone to get to the administration officials he was targeting, including Trump, even killing people who were working there, catering the event. This is something that someone on the left thought was appropriate because of the world in which we live. And he released this manifesto to his family members moments before storming a staircase on an upper level that if he had gotten to the staircase and gotten down the stairs, he would have been capable of harming a tremendous amount of the important people that currently run our country, and also many, many members of media. Just a bunch of people could have been in harm's way. Luckily, that didn't happen. If you somehow don't know, I kind of forget to give you the variables here. He shot one Secret Service member. That Secret Service individual was wearing a bulletproof vest, so they're going to be okay. Even talked to, I think, President Trump, and Trump covered it in his press statement that he gave within 30 minutes of all of this going down. He gave a press conference. But other than that, they apprehended the guy. The guy's alive, which is sort of insane, too. 2 of the 3 people that tried to kill Trump were not killed. One is in jail for life. This other individual will probably be sent to jail for life, I imagine, but it's just ridiculous. But here, I want to play this. This is Fox News reading the First Lady's reaction to a Kimmel joke that was awful, making a joke about her looking like a widow before the White House, correspondents' dinner, and actually doing it in a way where he was pretending he was the MC of the event. Here's how Melania Trump responded.
Right now, the First Lady, Melania Trump, apparently calling on ABC to fire Jimmy Kimmel. This appears to be in response to a segment that Kimmel aired days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. In that segment, Kimmel said the First Lady had the glow of a, quote, expectant widow.
Disgusting.
And now we have this response. The First Lady writing on X the following, quote, Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family is not comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community, end quote.
100% right, by the way. The First Lady in this. The president has called in to Fox News, I think that was today, and called for the firing of Jimmy Kimmel. You know what's truly disgusting about this to me? And this is a weird thing to be upset by, because all the basic stuff you can easily say is the most awful part of this. And it's all true. Maybe I'm numb to it. One, because I've been doing radio for several hours already today. This is my 4th hour of radio today, talking about this topic. But 2, because the other thing, the thing that's so true of what late night television used to be. The Johnny Carsons of the world were proud to not talk about politics because they were humble enough to know that that's not what people wanted from them, and that's also not what they're an expert in. Johnny Carson never wanted to think so highly of himself in the world of his opinion of who to vote for that he told people what to do via his television show, his late-night talk show. And the people who host these shows today think so highly of themselves. They're such arrogant pieces of you-know-what that they have to say what they think. They literally do interviews, people like Kimmel, where their answer to some of these questions is, well, I have to talk about it. There's no way I could be silent about these things that I have this extreme opinion on, when of course you could shut up. Of course you could not address these things that you think are important, because first and foremost, a whole lot of Americans don't agree with you. They don't think your opinion is all that valuable to begin with on this host of topics. And the other one, by the time we're going to bed at night, watching shows like this, which people used to do live and don't really do at all anymore, we just wanted to be entertained. We wanted to escape from the crap that we get all the time in these places. It's horrific to think that sort of, that nostalgic version of a thing that some people in this country very much vividly remember is just completely gone. And in the place of it, in the place of those types of Hallmark late-night television shows, you have people like Kimmel making jokes about the First Lady looking like she's a widow before an event in where someone absolutely attempted to kill the president. I do want to talk about the ballroom. It has come up as a topic. There are people that seem to think that all of this was just a setup, that Trump essentially or someone within his administration orchestrated the assassination attempt, all to get a ballroom completed that Trump would barely get any use from. 3-4 months of his time in office, if it actually got started right away and they didn't stop blocking it in courtrooms. But this event does show the importance of a ballroom at the White House secured at a location like that doesn't have to be at a separate location where we send our president, our vice president, and all the people who are in control of this country. This attempted killing of President Trump and his administration has gone viral all over the internet, and all the other places in the world that want to hurt our leaders, whoever our leaders are, the current ones or future ones, are paying attention. They're taking note. We'll get to that. We'll also get to something ridiculous that was said on The View. I don't know how to do a less serious show today. This is easily a very serious show because we're on the tail end of a discussion in mainstream media that they'll probably forget about tomorrow, where someone yet again attempted to kill the current president. And some data says that there's a lot of people out there who are totally fine with this, which is absolutely disgusting. But this is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. More coming up in a bit.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters. And we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Hi, I'm Tommy Mello with Garage Door Doctors. My mom recently moved into a new home with a builder-grade garage door. Noisy, flimsy, and not built to last, so we're fixing that. Mom, you're my hero. When I was growing up, she worked 3 jobs just to save our house.
And helped you build this company.
Now I'm giving her a beautiful new garage door that's built to last. The garage is 40% of your home's curb appeal. When it looks good and it works great.
Life is good. Thanks, Tommy.
From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today.
Match is back here in the Mac Z-Cliner. I'm recovering from surgery thanks in large part to this miracle chair, the Mac Z-Cliner. You can sit in it, you can recline in it, you can watch TV in it, you can eat in it, you can sleep in it. It goes to zero gravity position. The Mac Z-Cliner helped me recover. It also has heat and massage, a place to charge your cell phone. Come out to Gallery Furniture, buy a Mac Z-Cliner before your surgery. Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, or after your surgery, Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, and you'll sit and sleep great tonight.
Disinformation and misinformation online. There will be bite-sized clips that will go viral to the point where there are Americans in this country that believe that what happened Saturday night was staged. How does this White House tackle that with social media companies out there, whether it's X, Facebook, Instagram? How do they work with these companies to make sure that doesn't get out of control?
It's certainly a good question, Aisha. I don't have tangible answers for you on what we're doing with social media companies, if anything at all. What I will say is it's very important to us that we get the truth and the facts about this case and any case out there as quickly as possible to dispel some of that crazy nonsense that you do see running rampant online. And I think the Department of Justice and the FBI thus far have done a good job of disseminating the truth and the facts about this alleged attempted assassin, the perpetrator in this case, and I understand he'll be arraigned in court very soon. We'll all see that, and the Department of Justice will be giving a briefing and an update later today. So as far as we're concerned, just providing maximum transparency, and hopefully people will believe the truth rather than the lies and the conspiracies that so often do go crazy on social media.
Here's what I love so much about that answer. By the way, it's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to have you with us. Caroline Levitt was asked something very similar to the type of question that you should have asked more people within the Biden administration or the Obama administration, as I accidentally called it, but probably intentionally called it. Freudian slip called it earlier in the show because Biden was a husk of a person the majority of the time that he seemed to be serving as our president. I don't think that he was in control of anything at all. But nonetheless, the thing that matters more is when it was COVID related, when it was what they called, the left called, misinformation and disinformation. They did everything they could to force the social media companies in our society to silence the people they didn't want to hear from. They did everything they could to push those conversations down. And then Caroline Leavitt has asked the same question just a day or two after the third attempted assassination of the current president. And her answer is, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to infringe on people's First Amendment right to freedom of speech. But here's the part I love the most. What are we going to do? We're going to be transparent. We're going to give you all the information, and we're going to believe that you, whoever you are out there, are smart enough to figure out the truth. Democrats very often treat their supporters, and I think hope their supporters, are stupid. But they treat their supporters like idiots. The reason they do this is that they want them to ingest whatever the thing is they're saying and nothing else. They don't want you to check any of the data points that they're sharing with you. They want to have full control over what you think, what you believe, what you say. They want to control the narrative. And I've heard people who vote on the left spit out talking points to me that are so easily disproven that you become disappointed that someone you know is saying them. You're like, how could you think that? How could you believe that that's true? Good people on both sides is one of many examples that still exist today that people think Trump said. When you go back and listen to the entirety of the piece of audio, and he absolutely resoundingly says that neo-Nazis and white supremacists are bad. They should be, absolutely not given any level of respect or credibility. They should be resoundingly rejected in our society. These are all things that Trump said in the same breath that he spoke the words, there were some good people on both sides that were protesting the removal of a statue. And all the left cared about was the clip, because that's all they want is the clip. They want to see some horrible things happen. Then they want the one out-of-context moment they can use. They want to tell their side of the aisle. That's the only thing to pay attention to. Look over here, ignore everything else. One of the best ways that I've heard it described, the way that Democrats lie to their constituents, was by Chris Rock. In a special where Chris Rock is crapping on Republicans, he is certainly no conservative. He says that Democrats leave out important pieces of the truth when telling their supporters what they should believe and what they shouldn't believe. They pick and choose what information they share and how they share it. Of course they do. And they also blatantly lie and do all that other stuff too. But this is that. And actually, I have another example of this, one that I uniquely sort of hate. Ana Navarro was out there within moments of, or I think hours of, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, the third one, and any member of his cabinet, and anyone inside the White House Correspondents' Dinner ballroom, which took place at a hotel because we don't have a facility at the White House to do this. But anyway, Ana Navarro said that it's because Trump lies. That was her reasoning for someone trying to kill him. That unlike other politicians who apparently, according to Anna, all tell the truth, any lie Trump has ever told means he should be shot in the square, I guess. But she also talked about how she hopes that the fear of thinking that a gunman was going to burst through a door and kill everyone in a room causes them to restrict our Second Amendment rights. This is Ana Navarro on The View begging for gun control in the aftermath of another horrific attempt to kill the president. Here we go.
But now that room was full of some of the most important political leaders in the country right now.
Right.
Now they know, they've lived it in their own flesh, the fear that our school children go through.
Yes.
Now they know what it's like to have to jump under a table the way that school children jump under a desk. And we are a country that is vulnerable to this. We have now seen shootings in malls, in churches, in temples, and Walmart.
We saw it.
By the way, two things are happening right now. I will stop the audio for a second before I keep playing it. One, emotional manipulation. She's trying to, as anyone on the left does on this topic, manipulate you into believing that you need an emotional response to some of the bad things that happen in our society. And that emotional response is, of course, take all the guns away and everybody's safe. which couldn't be further from the truth logically. It's actually the dumbest thing you could possibly do. And the other thing she said there that I thought was important is she said how open to this the United States is, how easy it is for people to commit these kinds of horrible crimes or attempt to commit these kinds of horrible crimes in our society. So what's the right solution? Make the targets harder. Make them hard targets, not soft targets. I've advocated for this before. I'll do it again. As far as schools go, have one entry point that at some point is the only way into the school once the children are in there, and station a couple veterans with guns outside the school and say, bring it on, essentially, to any of the insane, crazy people out there who want to hurt kids. Then they're never going to go within an inch of a school like that, protected in that way as a hard target, because they're afraid. They're cowards of people, the ones who take a gun into a school and attack children. And if they actually had to fend for themselves immediately before getting into one of these places, we wouldn't see this anymore. Create hard targets, believe in the values the Second Amendment was created for. Use those values to protect our society. Of course, Anna Navarro doesn't want to do that, but that is the right reaction to these kinds of things she's bringing up without the emotional manipulation component. But go ahead and continue, Anna Navarro.
In baseball fields,
Republicans.
and so, I still don't understand how Congress took no action after Sandy Hook, after 20 children between the ages of 6 and 7 were killed. But maybe now that they have felt the fear themselves, they will do something.
But what I don't
gun
understand
reform.
is how.
Look, I actually hate the claps and applause from the audience there, so I'll stop it at that. But what's ridiculous to me is that she says they'll actually do something because she only has one solution. She only believes in one thing to fix the problem that she's saying exists in our society and painting the picture emotionally of how it exists in our society. And the only solution she has makes us inherently less safe. It's just simply true. I lived in Chicago for a very long time, one of the strictest places in the country as far as gun laws are concerned, and one of the most dangerous, one of the most violent and dangerous parts of the country, because that doesn't work. The only people who pay attention to the rules, the laws, the only individuals who would actually eventually not have guns because you make it impossible for them to have guns are the people who care about the law, not the people intent on killing other people. I love how the left thinks because of how stupid it is and how easy it is to reject the ideas and the concepts they come up with just simple, basic, what everybody calls, just logical analysis or just common sense, which is what a lot of people refer to now when they talk about a lot of ideas on the right or a lot of conservative ideas, because we've seen it in a lot of other societies. Look at some of the societies in our world that have chosen to restrict more gun rights. The UK is a great example. You have stabbings now, a ton more stabbings there than used to exist. People are still finding weapons, still finding ways to hurt others. There was a time period, I've talked about this before, maybe not on this show, but other places in radio, where we did have restrictions of what we referred to as assault rifles or weapons of war. We did. Automatic weapons were more restricted for a certain time in our society. And what did we see? We saw more bombing attempts than we see now. The bad guys don't care about the rules, about the laws. They don't care about any of that. And to pretend as though they do is the absolute, as I said, dumbest thing you could possibly do as a person in a position of power making rules in our society. It is playing into the thing that the left most wants, the thing that they're hoping for. And if you actually ever did it, if you actually ever allowed for some of those crazy, horrible, just simply taking away our most basic rights, versions of solutions to be put in place in our country, you would see immediately the reason why they were a bad idea. And yet I pray to God we don't get there. I don't want to be the type of person who says, I told you so on a topic like this, because I'm a rational person that cares about our society. All right, I'm going to play one other clip. We're going to take a break, and then we are going to do a quick 4-ish, a more fun topic, because darn it, we can't do serious stuff the entire time because we all go crazy if we do that. But I want to play Hakeem Jeffries. He refused to apologize for his own dangerous rhetoric. Hakeem Jeffries put up on social media that he was calling for maximum warfare all the time. Obviously, the kind of thing that if you flip the roles, you say that the right was saying this, and then someone attempted to kill someone on the left, media would be up in arms, saying how this is disgusting, saying how dare people do these sort of things. Of course, that's not actually occurring, and no one on the left seems to care about the horrible things that they say, which is what we've come to expect as far as these types of conversations go. But here's Hakeem Jeffries being asked the simple question and saying he does not care at all.
I want to get your response. I realize this quote is a quotation from someone else, but you Republicans continue to hit you over saying maximum warfare everywhere all the time in your tweet after the Virginia election. So I want you to respond to that. And from a macro perspective, if you can, what are you advising your members to do about rhetoric right now that you can criticize the president without facing GOP criticism?
Political violence in any form directed at anyone, whether that's the right, the left, or the center, is unacceptable. Period. Full stop. The notion that any of us are concerned with so-called criticism from these phony Republicans as it relates to anything that has been said, certainly as it relates to the comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle that Republicans launched. I stand by it. You can continue to criticize me for it.
He actually goes on to say, I don't give a bleep about the criticisms that you're putting out there in the world about the things that I'm saying. Maximum warfare all the time, totally fine. This is a politician mere days after an attempted assassination of the sitting president of the United States. I can't fathom how we got to this place that we're in our society. And yet, if you follow all the pieces, you see exactly how we've gone further and further down this horrible, horrible rabbit hole that we seem to be in, where more and more young people, as I said, based on data, believe that this is okay, that political violence is fine, and the left will take no blame for it, even though that's the exact same side of the aisle that has screamed this exact point time and again when they're talking about what they think is extreme rhetoric from the right. They even pretend that there are people that are potentially in harm's way, that could be hurt by the things that Trump or someone else says, even though we're seeing none of that violence, none of those acts of violence actually taking place in our society from conservatives. This is coming from the left. You know it. I know it. They know it. Shockingly, and I guess not all that surprisingly, they simply don't care. All right, a quick break, and then as I said, I promise we'll do a little bit of fun stuff before we get out of here. The Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
Have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Saad, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. We're going to do some quick four-ish topics. I steal this segment from Dana Lash. She calls it the quick five. So I do four-ish, which is totally different and not the same thing at all. By the way, I did fill in for Dana today. I'll be filling in again for her tomorrow on her nationally syndicated radio show, which has like 8 million, I think, weekly listeners. One of the top 5 most listened to radio shows in the country. I'm not bragging because it's not me who built that thing. It's Dana and the awesomeness of that human. But you can hear me if you tune into that show. However you do it, I recommend online. Dana's podcast is already up, even if it might be airing in some communities in our own city, which is weird that I'm on 2 radio stations at the same time, talking about probably some similar stuff. But let's do some sillier things. This is exactly the nightmare I've had, and maybe you've had, in some establishments. This happens to be a Chinese restaurant in Louisiana where people found roadkill hanging up inside the freezer. Now, the people inside the facility, the people at the restaurant, they said that this wasn't food they were going to feed to anyone coming in and buying a meal. This was their stuff. Someone who works there was bringing the roadkill home. This is terrifying, mostly because of all the weird meats they eat in China to begin with. But my favorite part is the viral video of the wildlife permits coordinator in Louisiana when asked about this, because he seemed to only care about the legality of picking up roadkill and taking it home, not the whole part that it was inside the freezer at a restaurant and people wouldn't know that the deer they might be eating might have been picked up from somebody hitting it with a car. I'm not judging you, by the way, here in Texas, if you repurpose roadkill. That's not my thing. My thing that I'm judging is if a restaurant did it without our knowledge. But here we go.
Is it spoiled? Heat, moisture, and bacterial growth are the main causes of meat spoilage. Ideally, you want that meat to be stored at 40 degrees or less. Sure. The longer it's there, our moist, humid environment lends itself to bacterial growth. So that's going to be the primary concern. You have to contact LDWF and ask for that authorization. Illegal possession of a deer, which would be possession from roadkill, right, essentially, yeah, is a Class 4 violation in Louisiana.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Again, Chinese restaurant is why I thought that it was uniquely kind of scary that they threw it in the freezer of their establishment. They're like, it'll be fine. Do you know what we eat in our country? We eat all kinds of horrible things. A meat market in China is something you can't unsee for anyone unaware of it. It's something that actually Democrats used to pretend as though that's where COVID came from for a while. That's how crazy the meat markets are and the crazy, ridiculous things you can buy on the street in China. But I love, again, that the Bradley Braylon guy, that's the name of the permits guy, is like, well, I'm more worried about how long it was outside and if there's any bacteria on it than whether or not it popped up in a restaurant freezer or just somebody's house. I love so much of that. Another thing that I thought was kind of funny, this is out of Florida. A police department is addressing a concerning video in which it appears as though an officer decided to race another guy's car. I don't know exactly how much of this is going to prove to be accurate. I'm a very big supporter of the police, always will be on this very show. But it's Florida, and if a guy with a fancy sports car rolls up to a police officer and goes, if you say it's okay, we could race right now and see whose car is faster. And if a police officer in Florida is like, all right, you know what, get out of jail free card, let's do it. That's not exactly the most shocking thing I've heard out of that state. But here's a little bit of audio of a department public information officer talking about the alleged incident and the video that seems to demonstrate that this happened.
The biggest reason we put out the press release is we want to make sure that not everyone paints the picture that this is what the Homestead Police Department does.
Yeah, we don't do that. And more importantly, I think there's a chance that someone went ahead and got a vehicle to look like a police officer's vehicle and raced somebody else, and that's how the video exists to begin with. That or AI. I'm sure people will say that's a potential reality of all this, but who knows? I don't think we have definitive information as to what happened, but I just got to say that I enjoy the idea, and here's why I actually enjoy it. I was talking to somebody, this must have been like a couple years ago in radio, and it was off air before a segment that he actually did on the air, where a guy who's in a different generation than me, I'm 40, I'm a millennial, this guy was a Gen X, or I think even a baby boomer, just right on the cusp between those two generations. And he was joking about how he used to run from the cops when he was younger, that he lived in a smaller community, that the cops knew who he was, they knew the car when they saw it, and that if he could get away, he'd essentially think that he had avoided any sort of penalty for whatever the thing was that he was doing. And I think by and large, it was actually drinking and driving. But nonetheless, this guy's telling me this like it's such a joke. He's like, oh, yeah, we used to do that a lot as a kid. And it's just so different than our society is now, what could have been in the past. And I think I remember the end of the story from the colleague of mine where the cop shows up at the house, goes, I know it was your kid. I know it was his car. I was chasing him for a while, and he somehow got away. Let's let him turn himself in, that kind of thing. Although the cop was also embarrassed that the kid was able to get away from him. But nonetheless, like that's just a different era, a different world. And sometimes places like Florida feel like there's still some level of that, a trap somewhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if the guy who pulled up to a cop and maybe threw out this idea that then got it to be a thing, if that's what really happened, might be of that generation himself. All right, one last piece of audio, sillier audio for a quick 4 topic that I liked. This is a viral commercial from the 1990s talking about how to get on the internet and what to do on the internet. Our society has changed a lot. I said it a second ago. I'll say it again now. My favorite, though, is the dial-up tone that you hear at the end of this, because the young kids today have no idea how much harder it was to get on the internet and don't remember what it was like in a society that didn't have internet. I remember both of those things, but here's a video from the 1990s giving you a PSA of what to do once you get that sweet, sweet internet connection in your own home.
The browser is the application that allows you to view all of the information on the web.
Sometimes you can get it free from your ISP, or a friend can download it for you on a disk.
You can also buy a browser or download one from the internet.
You might want to explain what it means to download.
It means to transfer a file of information from a main computer or server to your computer.
And it's easy to do, too. Even I know how. You can download games or anything.
Now you need to connect to your ISP. You click on the icon and then choose Connect.
You can hear it dialing. Sounds weird, huh?
And now we're online.
And I remember so many different times where you dial up and then somebody would get mad that you're using the additional phone. If you had two in the house that was tying up the internet and they couldn't call somebody, or they picked it up and knocked you off the internet. I also love the ISP references, internet service provider, that are in there just because of how old looking, how old sounding this commercial is. And yet this was just 20 or 30 years ago. And again, the young kids today have no idea the society that we used to live in and the things that did and didn't exist in said society for quite some time. One last topic for a quick 4-ish thing that I thought was interesting. This isn't necessarily political, but it's very closely tied to politics, in my opinion. Doomerism is on the rise. This is according to a survey in Huffington Post, which is a pretty left-leaning publication. A bunch of young people said they're just doomers in life. They just believe that bad things are coming, whether it's scrolling on social media, whatever it might be, that you see a certain number of negative stories and you just expect negative things to happen in your own life. You're like, you darn it, I know what's coming around the corner and it's all going to be terrible. And this is something that people dive deeper and deeper into the more that they admit that it's a thing. And I thought this was interesting. Within the article, it actually says that the algorithms that you might be subject to on social media might feed you more of this crap if you pay attention to some of this crap. Meaning the more often that you click on the negative story, the more likely the next story you see in your feed is also inherently negative. And I said that it's political, but not, Of course, the Huffington Post isn't making the political connection, but it's easy to make. When you think about the world we're in right now, the amount of people who say certain things are okay, as I referenced a couple times in this show, political violence is okay. 30-something% of liberals say that's true. 3% of conservatives say that that's true for comparison's sake. Just putting it out there again. But more importantly, when you're this upset, when you think that so much of your own life is screwed, that there's no positive step forward, then of course you fall into these rabbit holes of, if I'm miserable, I want to share my misery with everyone else. And it's a uniquely bad thing in our society that we see a lot of and more of, according to this article. So if you're a doom scroller, stop doom scrolling. Turn off the social media apps that might be causing you to feel this way. This is something I tell people in my own life who at times might sound like some of the things they're focused on are the most difficult, or the I could call them negative things going on, is just think about the positives. The exact immediate parallel to getting yourself out of the funk of thinking that somehow bad things are destined to happen to you is to focus on any good things. And I'll do one. I didn't mention it at all. I waited till the end of the show. I know that you're not going to care, anyone listening to this, but I'm proud of myself for doing it. The Yankees beating up on the Astros for 2 of the 3 games over the weekend was uniquely fun. I was there on Friday night. That was a great game to go to. Saturday would have been a great game to go to. Sunday would have been a terrible game to have attended. But nonetheless, 2 of those 3 games, uniquely fun. And a great way to escape all the crap that goes on in our society, to just sit there and watch a baseball game. And Astros fans in town, I'm assuming you really enjoyed Sunday, where the Yankees got the crap kicked out of them for a majority of the game and then started to come back in the 8th and 9th inning until ultimately losing. I think it was like 7-4, 8-4 at the end of that game. But it was 7-0 for a majority of the game till Aaron Judge hit a home run, and then a bit of a rally occurred in the 9th. But again, just remind yourself of those things, good things that happen in your everyday life. If you find a dollar bill on the ground, remind yourself of that. And that might be a way to get yourself further and further away from the doom scrolling crap that is sort of designed to be the feeling that many of us have. People want you to be miserable. People want you to think that the world you live in is bad, is terrible, because they want to control what you do next based on that information. And the best thing you can possibly do, the best way you can possibly live, is to reject that full stop, to say that, no matter what is going on. Actually, I'll say this. This is the end of the show, 20 seconds left, and we're out of here. I'm always most impressed by, most motivated by, or admire most the people who seem like they're going through a lot of terrible things and still have a positive outlook on it. I can currently think of one person I know that's going through some tough stuff and is one of the most positive people I know. And that's some of the most amazing people you'll meet in our society. All right, that's it. That's the show. See you guys later. Greg Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas. AM 700 KSEV Tomball.